of Reading webinar. Really excited to be here with you guys today. I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere else. Going live here to talk to you about the Teaching Reading and the Foundations of Reading exam. Looks like you guys are all in the chat. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Just making sure I'm using my good microphone. Make sure it sounds good and not echoey. Let me know. And I will get started. So today we are talking about the Foundations of Reading webinar and the Teaching Reading 5205. So these, well, it's actually 3 tests because we're going to go through. Awesome. Yes, I can hear you. Good, good, good. Awesome, guys. Okay, so we are talking about the Foundations of Reading. This is our latest and greatest book. And the Teaching Reading. This is our best-selling book. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Now, some of you are taking the 5206. We'll also talk a little bit about this. Let me talk to you about the different tests very quickly so you understand what's going on here. Most teaching reading exams. So that means your Science of Teaching Reading in Texas, the Foundations of Reading in Massachusetts, the one in Virginia, the Teaching Reading, Praxis Teaching Reading in New Jersey and Alabama and wherever you are, okay? They all assess the same thing. They assess the foundational skills of reading and they assess comprehension and critical thinking. And so we're going to go over all of that. Now, with this webinar, if you signed up and you're in the chat and you're talking, good morning, good morning. Will this work for 7002? Yes, Rebecca, because if you're here for 7002, this is the 7002. This 5205 is actually the new 7002 as well. Those of you who don't know what the heck I'm talking about, it's because your state doesn't use that test. So don't worry about it. Focus on your test. But if you're here for the 7002, yes, yes, yes. 890, yes, yes, yes. 190, 890, anything Foundations of Reading, yes. Science of Teaching Reading, yes. All of it, yes. You are in the right place. If you're here for the 5002 or an elementary education exam, this will also help you. Now, with this webinar, you got a free study guide. If you're like, oh my God, where's my free study guide? I don't know where it is. It's fine. I'm projecting everything today on the screen. You can go find it in the email or wherever later. I'm projecting everything today. So just focus on what we're doing and you can get the materials later. You will also get an email once this is done. If you're watching in the future, recorded, you already have the email. But if you are watching live today on June 21st, 2025, you're going to get an email about 20 minutes after this is over with everything I talk about, because I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff. And sometimes I talk about websites and resources on the fly. And I have a colleague in the chat. Her name is Yana, and she will remember everything I said, and she will put it all in the email for you. So just sit tight. If your internet goes down, if you have to leave, if you're like, oh my God, I got to go to work and I can't stay, no big deal. It's recorded. And then we send you the recording and everything we talk about. So you can just relax, watch the webinar. Let's talk about reading. Let's also talk about the fact that I have 400 people live in this webinar. Oh my gosh, you guys, biggest one ever. We had almost 5,000 people sign up for this webinar to get all the resources, and we have almost 400 live. This is my biggest webinar yet. So thank you for being here. Let me know in the chat. I see some of you are from Wisconsin, Arkansas, Texas, everywhere. Let me know in the chat if this is your first time with me or if you've been here before. If it's your first time, welcome. I'm Kathleen Jasper. I am a test prep specialist. I study exams, specifically teacher certification exams, so I can give you the best chance of passing. I was trained when I was a teacher in the curriculum department. I was trained by a large test prep company who showed us how they do what they do so that we could do it for the district. Pearson came in and showed us how to write good test questions and use the test specifications and blueprints to model our exams in the district after the state assessments. It was one of the best trainings I ever attended in professional development. And now, like most of what I do for my business is around that. So first timer. Oh my gosh, there's so many coming. First time. Awesome. So many first timers. Big fan of YouTube. Thank you, Amy Decker. All of it's coming in so quickly. I'll try to go through these as much as I can. And like I said, I have a colleague in the chat. Her name is Yana. She's going to give you an offer code if you want to buy these actual books, and some other information. All right. So my name's Kathleen Jasper. So glad you guys are here. You're in the right place. I know a lot about teacher certification exams. It is my specialty. I was a substitute teacher. I had to take all these exams similarly to what you guys are doing. I became a teacher, specifically reading teacher, and we're going over reading today. And I actually feel like I became a teacher when I got reading endorsed. I learned so much through my reading endorsement, and I'm sure many of you are going through that as well. It really taught me how to be a teacher. So it may be tedious and you may be like, oh God, it's so much work. In the end, I actually became a better teacher because I was reading endorsed. So if you're taking this for reading endorsements or getting your reader certification, really important, awesome job. And then I went downtown to work in curriculum, which is what I just told you. That testing company came in and showed us how they do everything. And we kind of modeled our district assessments after that. Curriculum jobs are the coolest. I love them. If you are a teacher, maybe you're new, or maybe you've been around a few years and you're like, I don't know if I want to stay in the classroom. A job in curriculum is so much fun. You get to do all the planning and like the professional development and all that stuff in a quiet office. And nobody bothers you. Well, people bother you, but you don't have 100 kids banging down your door. So it's kind of cool. Then I went back into the schools, into high school, back to the high school that I taught at, and I became an assistant principal for about 3 years. And then I left to start my own company. And you never know, you guys. You could be learning everything you need in public schools right now to start your own company or do something. You never know where life is going to lead you. I'm here with you today because I started off as a sub, got certified, learned about testing and curriculum, became an assistant principal, all of that. You just never know where this journey is going to take you. And I'm thrilled to be here with you today. So let's get started. We're talking about all of these different reading tests. Now, I have publications for many of them, not every single one of them, but if you're trying to pass a, like a test in, like if you're trying to pass another test, like the STR in Texas, I recommend this book because Pearson makes the STR, Science of Teaching Reading, and Pearson makes the Foundations of Reading. ETS, which is a different testing company, makes the Praxis Teaching Reading, but they all assess the same thing. It's going to be heavy on the foundational skills of reading, and we're going to talk about that a lot today. So your phonemic awareness, your phonological awareness, your phonics, your fluency. Then it's going to assess your critical thinking, comprehension, and writing, right? Because those go together. Comprehension is at the top. That's where we want all the students to be. We want them comprehending everything, right? But how do we get there? You don't just, wake up one day with comprehension. It is a systematic, remember this, systematic and explicit approach, meaning that one skill builds on the other. That's systematic. It's in a continuum. And we're going to talk more about that in the actual questions. I'm going to show you what that looks like in context. And it's explicit in that we teach these skills in isolation. For example, we teach phonemic awareness and phonics in isolation. We don't group them together with phonics. Phonemic awareness and phonological awareness have to do with sounds only. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a question. Don't worry, we're going to do examples. So we focus on those, right? Once students master that, then we move to phonics, which is actually looking at the word and decoding the word, right? Then we move to fluency, reading strings of words and sentences and then paragraphs. Then we move to vocabulary. Then we move to comprehension. It's like a continuum. It's a step-by-step approach, okay? All right, I see a lot of people here. Foundations of Reading, Teaching Reading. Awesome. Welcome, first-time attendees. So glad you guys are here. And welcome to my OGs who are always here. I love it. You guys are always in my comments and stuff. Love it. Asking me questions, sharing your success with me. I love that. So I'm so glad you guys are here. All right, so with this webinar, you got a study guide. It's a few pages. It's not as big as these study guides. These are the paid study guides. You can get these on Amazon and my website. I'm going to periodically jump in and out of the website just to show you where you can get these resources. Let me show you really quickly before we get started in the test questions. But this is KathleenJasper.com here. Under study guides, you'll see the Foundations of Reading test. Here it is here. You can also click and go out and get it on Amazon. The physical book right now is available on Amazon. The digital download sent to your email after you purchase is available on my website. You have to go out to Amazon here by clicking this button. Let me go ahead and share, and you'll see that you can get it on Amazon. We can't offer you an offer code on Amazon. I have to unpublish the book and do this whole thing to change the price. So the offer code won't work on Amazon, but it will work on my website. Another thing I want you to pay attention to really quickly, if you're someone who's brand new to teaching reading and you're not sure, I have an online course. So let me go to up here under online courses, test prep. And again, we'll put this all in an email, so don't worry. But here is the online course. It has everything. It has hours of videos. It has all kinds of practice tests, explanations, videos. This one here, let me go ahead and share. This one's the teaching reading. I have both. I have the teaching reading and I have the foundations of reading. So this one's the teaching reading. So let's just resume course. This is what it looks like here. You see that inside every single course, you can download the study guide. So it comes with the study guide. And then there are lots and lots of videos. Now, the foundations of reading is a slightly bigger exam. So the course is a little bit bigger. It has several more videos and things like that. Let me go ahead and find that for you. Let me show you that one real quick, and then we'll start. I just want to show you where to get some of this stuff. Foundations of reading. This one's a newer course, a newer book, but all our teaching reading books, like they all work. So don't worry, like, oh, I bought this one. You're fine. You don't need to buy a bunch of new products. Here's the foundations of reading. You can see there's a lot more videos in this one. They kind of extend their test out and have more content categories than the teaching reading. One is not harder than the other. They just are different. But again, digital study guide available here. If you buy the course, you get everything, the study guide, the videos, the explanation videos, everything. Just something to think about. You will get a 20% off coupon once you are in the chat. She's got it in the chat, but there's so many people in here that I can't even see her. I don't even know where she is. Like, you guys, this is the biggest webinar I've ever done. I cannot believe there's 450 people on this webinar. That's crazy. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let me not bore you. Let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to project my presentation. In the presentation are pieces of the free study guide. I'm not going over every single question in both free study guides. We'll be here all day, but I want you to notice my methods. I call them think like a test maker methods. We are going to be working backwards, and I'm going to show you some tricks specifically for this exam. This is a heavy on the scenario questions, heavy on the good words, bad words that I talk about. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you when we get to the test questions. And you can use strategy really, 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 really well in this test. Scenario questions look like they're the hardest, but they're not. They end up being the easiest once you learn how to master them, okay? Someone is saying, Michaela is saying, my biggest problem is the constructed response. So after both of these tests, you're going to have an open response or a constructed response. They're the same thing. We're actually going to spend a lot of time on that, Michaela. We're going to spend a lot of time on the constructed response. Here's one thing I want you to keep in mind. As we go through the multiple choice tests, I want you to think about what we're talking about in the multiple choice, the good words I talk about, how to approach it. You're going to do the same thing in the writing. You're just going to turn it into a performance-based assessment rather than a multiple choice. You're going to do the multiple choice first, but all that knowledge can be used towards the open and constructed response, okay? So I'm going to focus on that today. If you're still having a lot of trouble with the constructed response, I might recommend getting the course at the discount. If you've bought the book, we can apply the cost of the book to the course for you and give you a little bit more of a discount. You just have to email us. But I have like a very robust constructed response video section in that course. So if you're really struggling, you can get help in that course, but I'm also going to go over it today. Okay. And yes, I know a lot of people have to take these tests multiple times. Hopefully we can get you over the hump if you are. So we got Michaela and Michelle who are talking about the constructed response too. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. So we will do that. All right. So here we go. Let's go into my presentation and we're going to get right into the questions. All right. So we're doing foundations of reading and Praxis teaching reading. If you're here for the 5206, so the Praxis teaching reading, you have the 5205 and the 5206. This right here is elementary reading. The 5025 is elementary. The 5026 is K-12, which means you're going to have a few middle and high school questions. However, it's still the same. They focus a lot on foundational skills and really the teaching reading part, but they're just going to have like middle school and high school scenarios there. It's pretty much the same thing. I do have a book for the 5206. Not a ton of people take that one. Most people are taking these two, teaching reading and the foundations of reading, or the STR in Texas. But just think, if you're the 5206, take everything we're talking about now and they might just make it into a middle school scenario. Okay. Loretta, how long is this webinar? It's about an hour 15. But if you have to go, oh, you're taking it in 3 hours. We'll be done. We'll be done before you take the test, Loretta. Good luck. Let us know how you do. All right. So really quickly, I'm going to jump back and forth between the Foundations of Reading Study Guide and the Teaching Reading. They all do the same thing. So I would download them both when you have time. All right. So here we go. And I'm just going to move this up a bit so my head doesn't block off. There we go. Okay, here we go. So this is from the Foundations of Reading free study guide we sent. Now, when you see a question like this, what I want you to do is start with the answer choices quickly. I'm going to slow down and talk you through this. You're not going to take this much time on test day, but I want to show you the method to my madness. I call this thinking like a test maker. Think like a test maker, work backwards, find good words, eliminate bad words, find good practices, eliminate bad practices, and see what you can do here. All right, let's just look at A. Encourage students to write phonetically by stretching out the sounds they hear in words. Okay, that sounds good. Read predictable text and ask students to identify punctuation marks. Okay, look at B. B has predictable text. This is actually a good word. Why do I call predictable text a good word? Well, I call it a good word because it shows up in the test specification a lot. Now, I'm not going to project the test specification because that is Pearson's proprietary information. They have that copywritten, all right? And I want to make sure I'm not, projecting their IP. However, if you go to Google and you Google Foundations of Reading 190, 890, whatever your test is, and the term test specification and blueprint, a link will pop up that you can go to and look at it. You'll see that there's a blueprint, a pie graph with all the different content categories. And then under that are all the explanations of skills. And in those explanations of skills, the term predictable text comes up a lot. Why? Well, predictable text is text that students read who are starting to learn to read. And it's that quick, like, Sally sat on the mat with her cat. It has very similar sounding words. Students can, move through these words. They have the same sounds. It's easy, but it gets students to understand how to read, right? And they can flip and they feel good and it builds confidence and all that. So predictable text is a good word, good practice. Here's what makes this a bad answer choice. Identify punctuation marks. When we're talking about reading skills, sure, we talk about periods and exclamation points and question marks, but should we spend a whole lesson on identifying punctuation marks? This gives me pause. I'm going to cross off B, even though it has a good word in the answer choice. Identifying punctuation marks. Identify is a low-level skill. Put your finger on it. Identify, low level. No critical thinking there or anything. And punctuation marks, that's not really teaching us how to read. I'm going to be leery of it. C, show students how to hold a book and track print left to right with their fingers. Well, that's actually concepts of print. We show students, we project a big book on the board and we show them with our pointer how to read it, right? That's called tracking. That's called directionality, and it is important. So I'm going to leave C. And D, ask students to identify uppercase letters from a set of magnetic letters. Again, identify, low-level skill, uppercase letters. I don't know if that's really going to be a reading situation. It's more of a handwriting situation. I don't like B and D. I'm crossing them off. I'm down to A and C. Let's read the question. Which of the following activities best integrates concepts of print and the alphabetic principle? Okay, we have two things here. Concepts of print, but we also have the alphabetic principle, which eliminates C, because holding a book and tracking print is concepts of print. but not the alphabetic principle. The alphabetic principle is all about phonological phonemic awareness and phonics. It has to do with understanding that there are letters and those letters make certain sounds and codes and things like that. So C is out, leaving A. Let's read it. Encourage students to write phonetically. Phonetically is when you write something listening to the sounds. So for example, the word was. Doesn't was sound like this? Was. That's what it sounds like, right? It doesn't sound like was. Was is what it's written like, right? So when we encourage students to write phonetically, phone, sound, phonetically, it means we're encouraging them to write the way things sound. And that is an alphabetic principle. These are very early readers. Very, very good. But notice, and again, I'm dragging this out. You're not doing this on test day, but I'm trying to show you in context a couple of things. First, I'm trying to explain certain skills in foundations of reading, foundational skills in reading and teaching reading. Okay. Second, I'm trying to show you how they will add a good word with some bad practices to trip you up. And then I want you to also notice in the question, notice how there are two things: concepts of print and the alphabetic principle. Sometimes when we're moving quickly, we like read this concepts of print and we go, oh, book tracking print, concepts of print, C. No, we got to get to the whole thing here. And that's also the alphabetic principle. And that's why A is the correct answer. Okay. So make sure you understand there's so many nuances, right? But once we get working, we start, doing a lot of these strategies together. You start taking what you learned in this webinar and applying it in your studies. This is where you're going to get better. I find that a lot of people hit a roadblock. Some people have to take this test 5, 6 times and they keep taking it and they're not successful. It's because they're not looking at the items critically. Look at the whole item. All right. And I do this because I study tests. Pretend like you're studying the test. Don't pretend like you're, oh my God, I got to pass this test. And if I don't pass this test, my life is over. First of all, it's not over. You will be fine. You'll take it again and you'll pass. And think of it as, let me try to beat this thing. What's going on here? Look at the item as a whole. So when you have to talk about, when you're talking about different items and what they're working with, make sure that you understand it as a whole. Now, let me go into something. How is that concepts of print? Okay. Writing is concepts of print. Writing phonetically, when you just simply write words, that is concepts of print as well. Spacing out, like even if you wrote was here, the fact that you're writing a W, a U, and a Z with proper spacing from left to right, that is concepts of print as well. So, all right. Let's check out the next one, Foundations of Reading. This is number 3 in your free study guide, okay? Just move this up a little bit. Sorry, I try to expand it so you guys can see it online, but then my face covers it. So let me just move it up here a bit. Okay, let's go here. A, focus on teaching the student high-frequency sight words that include A, U, and GHT. All right. High frequency sight words. That's not a bad thing. Sometimes we do some orthographic mapping, which is a fancy word for memorization. Orthographic mapping is it's not the same as memorization. I'm sure a lot of reading researchers would come for me if I said that, but we're talking about stored memory of different phonemes, graphemes, things like that. Okay. So high frequency sight words are those words that are like automatic. They happen so much in text that a lot of times we do memorize them. Okay. But look at this, AU and GHT. Typically, do sight words have AU and GHT in them? Not really. Usually we're sort of sounding outwards with those types of letter patterns. I don't love A. I don't hate it. I'm not going to cross it off, but I'm going to be suspicious of it. B, use phonemic blending activities to help students pronounce words like caught. Okay. Phonemic blending. Caught is not the best word for phonemic blending. For phonemic blending, it might be something like plate, right? Pull, blending. Blending. Let's see. Slow, blending. Okay, so I don't love B either. I don't love B. C, teach students to guess. Nope. Right away, bad words. Guessing, We're not doing that. D, provide explicit instruction on diphthongs and trigraphs and apply these patterns in words. Explicit instruction, always a good word on this exam. When we are talking about reading instruction, we are explicit, we are systematic, and we are recursive. Explicit, and I'll review this, we talked about this at the beginning, is we are teaching these skills in isolation. Meaning I'm focusing on phonemic awareness. Then I'm focusing on phonological awareness. I'm focusing on phonics. I'm focusing on fluency, right? We do then smush all the skills together for sure, but we also take the time to be explicit. We're systematic in that we move from one skill to the next. There's a continuum. There are a couple questions coming up that I'm going to show you about that continuum. I'm going to apply it to a question. And then we are recursive because we go back, right, to go forward, don't we? Don't we spiral back a little bit? If a student needs to review some sounds in words, maybe some blends, they need to review the P and the L together, pull, right? We might have to go back to move forward. That's what recursive means, okay? Now, A, B, and D. D looks like it's my best one. A and B don't look great. Let's go ahead and read this. A second grade student is decoding the word caught and struggles with the vowel teams like AU and the trigraphs GHT. So this one has a couple of things. Vowel teams, we need to know what vowel teams are. AU, two vowels working together to make one sound. Trigraphs, three consonants working together to make one sound. This just makes the t sound, caught. Right? What is the most appropriate instructional strategy? Well, right here, not only has the good words, but it's got the diphthongs, which AW is a diphthong. Vowel teams are considered diphthongs, or diphthongs, I should say, are considered vowel teams. They are two vowels working together to make an interesting sound, like caught, oi. This is a diphthong as well. Starts with one sound and turns into another. Oi, right? OY, also like toy, is also a diphthong. It's kind of like a special vowel team. And then you have your trigraphs, GHT. This all works. It's got everything. D is the best answer. Okay. Somebody's asking me about the discount on Amazon. I talked about that in the beginning, but you might have missed it, Andre. I can't do discounts on Amazon because I have to unpublish the book. They won't let us just discount the book. I have to unpublish it and then republish it at a different price. And then they could deny the book and it could be stuck in public. It's like a whole thing. I can't do it, but you can get the 20% off on our website. Okay. For sure. All right. Let's see here. Number 4, again, with the foundations of reading, we're going to go to the teaching reading study guide after these. Okay. Which of the following accurate, we're going with the answer choices first. Sorry, work backwards. We have inflectional morphemes change the word's meaning. Inflectional morphemes indicate grammatical relationships. Inflectional morphemes apply only to verbs. Inflectional morphemes occur at the beginning of the word. Notice we have some patterns here, and a lot of you know what inflectional morphemes are and derivational morphemes, which is what we're being asked for here. But I want to show you another pattern that test makers do that will help you with these particular questions. Sometimes there will be patterns. Notice A has inflectional morphemes do this, derivational morphemes do this, inflectional morphemes do this, derivational morphemes do that. Do you see how it's like back and forth, back and forth? Sometimes, and let me just go ahead and erase some of this because it's going to get confusing if I don't. There we go. Sometimes you can immediately eliminate. Inflectional morphemes change the word's meaning. Well, I know right away that's not true. And we go over inflectional morphemes a lot and derivational morphemes a lot in the book. Let's talk about inflectional morphemes. What are inflectional morphemes? Morphemes are pieces of a word or pieces added to a word to change the word, for example. And also morphemes are just individual meanings in words. Morphology are things that are pieces of meanings in words. For example, let me just do a word so that jumped, or let's go with jump. Okay, we have jump up here. Okay. You know the meaning of jump. It's actually kind of hard to define, but I guess like jumping up and down, moving up, like moving your body up and down, right? Jump. If I add an S, does it change the meaning of jump? No, it's just jumps. You just turn it into plural versus singular, right? Or if I said, I don't have much room to write here. Let me try it one more time. Let's do another one. Jumped. right? He jumped up and down. This ed here doesn't change the meaning, but it does change the grammatical relationship, right? We went from jump present tense to jumped past tense. I'm going to cross off A because inflectional morphemes do not change the word meaning. Instead, they indicate grammatical relationships. Jumps, jumped, jumping. If I added ing, jumping, that would change it, right? Now, if I had the word happy, okay, and I put un in front of it, that's a morpheme. Un is a morpheme. Happy is a morpheme. Unhappy together means something, right? Not only did I take the adjective happy and turn it to the opposite meaning, right? If I went happy and then I went into unhappy, what do I change it from? I change it from like a positive happy to the negative, to the opposite, right? So I change the word's meaning, and let's look at this one. Happiness. If I add the N-E-S-S, I-N-E-S-S, if I change the Y to an I and add N-E-S-S, I change the part of speech, don't I? I went from happy, which is an adjective, to happiness, which is a noun. Happiness is a noun. So I not only changed, and if I add well, I just changed the meaning too. Happiness is a noun, meaning like a noun containing happy. I don't know. You'd have to look it up. But happiness is a noun. You have happiness. Happiness is a thing. It's an abstract thing, but it's still a thing. Okay. I have happiness. She enjoyed her happiness. She enjoyed her thing. Right. But if I said she had unhappiness, that's the opposite. Right. I didn't necessarily change the part of speech, but I changed the word's meaning. That is a derivational morpheme. Derivational morpheme. That's why B is the correct answer. Inflectional morphemes indicate grammatic relationships. Jump is a verb. Jumping is also a verb. It just has the ing. Happy is an adjective. Happiness is a noun. We change the part of speech. Here's how I remember it. Derivational morphemes derail the word. They change a lot of it. Okay. So they change perhaps the part of speech and they change the meaning. Inflectional just sort of inflect. They just sort of slightly change it to like plural versus singular or past tense versus present tense. Okay. And then let's discredit C and D. Inflectional morphemes apply only to verbs. Here's a trick in testing. The word only is called strong language and is typically not the correct answer on a standardized assessment. Remember, these things I'm showing you can also be communicated to your students because they do the same thing on student assessments. You know, whenever you see the word only, never, unequivocally, those types of words, always very strong language, typically not the correct answer. Okay. Matthew, I took my 5-4-1-2 and ran out of time because I was using the strategies Kathleen talked about, which really helped. Okay, good. Well, you ran out of time. That's not good. Got to do it quickly. And you don't have to pour over it. Like I'm going through every single answer choice here. You would do it much more quickly. In fact, I'm going to do it on the next one. I'm going to show you how quickly I do it on the next one. I'm breaking these down for you very slowly because I want you to understand what's up with the test. Matthew, hopefully you were successful on the 5-4-1-2, which is a very difficult administrative exam. Good job taking that. Hopefully you passed. If not, just need to sharpen that time a little bit more and move a little bit more quickly. Okay. So I'm crossing out C, strong language. D, inflectional morphemes occur at the beginning of the word. Why derivational occur at the end? No, derivational, look at this. Un can go in the beginning. Okay. Oh, I hope we haven't lost our chat. Let me see. Let me know in the chat if you guys can. Okay. We haven't. We're good. Last week we lost our chat. it started, no matter what people were typing, we couldn't see the chat. So keep typing in there, you guys. Let me know what's up. Hopefully we don't lose it. It was right about 10:30 when we lost it last time. Hopefully we don't lose it again. Okay, D is out. All right, let's go here. Now I'm going to do this really quickly, how I would do it. Good, Jessica. Thank you. Thanks, guys. All right, let's look at the answer choices. Use phoneme graphic mapping to improve word recognition. Okay, I like phoneme graphic mapping. Pre-teaching background knowledge. Ooh, background knowledge, good word. C, encourage silent reading. Nope, I'm going to take it off. I love silent reading as a teacher, but on the test, silent reading typically or independent reading is not the right word. Model. Ooh, fluent reading. Practice phrased cue reading. Ooh, good word, good word. Okay, we have 3 out of the 4 that are good words here. All right. Or 3 out of the 4 answer choices that have good stuff. Phoneme, grapheme, mapping. What is that? Phonemes are sounds. Graphemes are letters. This is phonics. Be careful. That equals phonics. Why? Well, phonics, you have to look at the word. You have to see the letter. You have to see that the P and the H are together in the word phonics to know it's f. You have to see the word. But if I said to you, how many sounds in the word phonics? F, n, I, k, s. 6 sounds, right? Maybe there's, check me on that. F, n, I, k, s. 6 sounds. That would be phonemic awareness. I don't have to see the word phonics to do phonemic awareness. But if I have to see the grapheme or the letter, if it mentions a letter, if it mentions a word, if it mentions decoding, it's phonics. If it mentions sounds only, it's phonemic awareness and phonological awareness. All right. So I'm looking at D. D looks good. I got a lot here. This phrase cue reading looks good. This is typically a fluency exercise. Again, my mind is going. I always like to explain all these things. I said I was going to move quickly with this, but I want you to understand what each answer choice means, because it'll help you become better test takers. All right, let's read the question. A teacher observes that a student reads fluently. Okay, we're talking about fluency. D looks good, but without appropriate expression. Expression is prosody. When you stop at periods and you pause at commas and you read with inflection, prosody and reading with expression. My mother is the best reading teacher. She was a kindergarten teacher for like decades. When she reads a story, oh my God, she can read a story. Oh, we love it when she reads stories. She is a kindergarten teacher. Kindergarten teachers are the best with prosody. They do all the expressions that the characters have, and that helps with comprehension. Because if you understand the expression going on, that's going to help build comprehension and your understanding of the story. All right, I digress. When encountering academic text with complex sentence structures. So this student's having a little bit of trouble with expression and when she encounters academic text. So maybe she's struggling with some punctuation and things like that. What strategy would be best appropriate? Right here. When we're talking about fluency, modeling is so good. First of all, if you see modeling in an answer choice, slow down. I would say 95% of the time it's the correct answer. Modeling is how you show the student how to do it, right? We do this constantly, and it is so powerful. When you watch somebody do the skill, you're like, oh, okay, I can do that, right? And then phrase cued reading is also a fluency exercise where you kind of chunk phrases together so students can practice saying shorter sentences or shorter phrases together, and then you can start to build on those. Both of these, think about your open response, you guys. Think about your constructed response. Let's say you have a constructed response that has all this fluency data, and you're like, oh my God, this is the biggest open response question I've ever gotten in my life. So what? Guess what the 2 strategies for fluency are? Well, there's several, but I use these 2. Modeling and repeated reading. If you like phrase cued reading is also a fluency. Find 1 or 2 strategies for each skill and just use that in your constructed response. If I get a question on fluency, I don't care what the data says. I'm going to acknowledge the data, and I'm going to show you this when we do it. But I'm going to use repeated reading and modeling. Those are my 2 go-to for fluency. You might use phrase cued reading a lot, and you can talk about it a lot, then use that. Find 1 or 2 strategies you can do and hold on that and use it when you're writing, okay? Now, A, I would cross off A, and again, I'm going slow. I want you to understand. That's phonics. We're past phonics here. We're in prosody. We're in fluency. So A is out. Pre-teaching background knowledge, that's pretty good. I would say the distractor is B. And when I talk about a distractor, I mean the one that they want you to choose. When you pre-teach background knowledge, you set the student up to read a little bit more fluently and have a little bit better comprehension because they're not going in totally cold, which is good. But we're talking about expression here. We're not really, this is also a comprehension strategy, background knowledge. Modeling and phrase cue is going to be better for especially complex sentence structures like it says here. There's just a bunch of clues here that leads us to D. All right. But B is close. All right. Move this down. And this is the last one from the foundations of reading. All right. A, have students practice reading aloud in class. Typically not the right answer. Why? Well, not all students like to read aloud in class. I'll give you an example. I was one of those students. I didn't like reading aloud in class. Our teacher would do round robin reading. And if you see the term round robin reading, it is not the right answer on this test. And it's not the right answer in life. Okay. Round robin reading is when you start with this kid and she reads a paragraph, the kid behind her reads a paragraph, and then up and down the rows, right? And y'all remember this. And you count how many people, and there's 6 people ahead of you. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you read your paragraph over and over again so you can practice it so you don't look like an idiot in front of all your friends. And then it gets to you and you counted wrong and you actually are supposed to read another paragraph and you completely freak out, right? How many of you have had that experience? I certainly did. I wasn't very good at reading aloud. Some students love to read aloud, right? And some students who don't like to read aloud can learn to like to read aloud. But we don't do that by making them read aloud. We do it by saying, all right, let me get a list of readers. Let me get a list of readers. We're going to be reading aloud today. Who wants to read? And the first time you do this, only your really good readers are going to raise their hand and you're going to write their names down. You're going to write them down so that you don't have to go, who else wants to read? Anyone? Come on, guys. And you break up the reading. You already have your list of readers. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Thank you so much for volunteering. Those of you, please follow along because we will be talking about this and probably having an assignment. So please make sure you're following along with us in class. We will discuss. And then you start reading. You model, you start off reading with prosody and expression and you're blah, 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 and you're doing it so well. And then the next person, okay, Jose, thank you for volunteering. Go ahead. And Jose reads because he wanted to read and you have him on the list. Well, by the second or third time you do this, some of your not so great readers or those who are, I shouldn't say that, not so great readers. I should say those who struggle or those who don't like to read aloud, you might choose them. They might raise their hand and say, you know what, I'm going to try it. When you create a safe space for reading aloud in class, more students will want to do it. That is my 2 cents on that. Just say no to round robin reading. That was traumatic in school. Okay. So A is that. B, read aloud to students so they can hear fluency. All right. That's modeling. I like that. C, reference student data. I like that to determine what skills students are lacking. Okay. This is data driven. I kind of like C because we do reference students data. D, ask the reading teacher for a list of students who struggle with reading. No. D is out right away because we don't want to outsource our teaching. Now, do we ask the reading teacher? Do we ask the reading coach? Do we work with colleagues? Absolutely. Our reading coaches are an awesome resource. Our paraprofessionals are an awesome resource. On this test, it's on you. You got to do it. All right. Don't outsource it. So any answer choice that outsources the situation, don't choose it. Let's read. How can a content area teacher enhance students' experiences with the content area text? Nice. Whoever chose C is correct. Now, D, if I were the reading teacher and a content area teacher, like the science teacher came to me and said, hey, can I have a list of students who struggle with reading? I would fall all over myself giving the content area teacher the list of struggling students. Reading teachers, you know what I'm saying. If you had a content area teacher, a social studies teacher, a science teacher in middle or high school, and they're like, hey, I want my kids to do better on the reading test. Can you give me a list of them? I would be like, yes, please come in, sit down here. Here are some strategies. I would give them all of that. But on this exam, it's a no-go. But in real life, I would be so impressed with a content area teacher who did that. But C is it, referencing student data. If you're a content area teacher, what can you do? You can look at your students' reading and you can say, you know what, I teach social studies, but I'm going to do some comprehension strategies because social studies is such an opportunity to teach reading. Or you know what, and I taught science as well. I taught high school science, English language arts, and reading. And we did reading strategies even with my AP students. We read science text, dissected it, used those fundamental reading strategies. Even when students are advanced readers, when you try to read really dense academic text, these strategies come to life for everyone. So if you are a content area teacher, I highly recommend you support the reading initiatives in the school, except math. Math teachers are math teachers. And some of you might be math teachers in this webinar right now, and you might be forced to teach reading in your math class. I get it. I know my principals do it, but I think everybody in the school is a reading teacher except for math teachers. Math teachers are math teachers. Because you're not asking social studies to teach math, are you? You're not asking reading teachers to teach math, right? The math teachers have a sole purpose. They need to be left alone doing their math stuff. They need to be teaching, and there's all kinds of strategies for students who struggle with math. Reading is different, but health, art, social studies, science, anything else is a great place to be teaching reading. So support that. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next one. We are on now the Praxis Teaching Reading Study Guide. So this is number 2 in the Praxis Teaching Reading Study Guide. And I see this word not standing out. So if I am working through my questions and you see the word not, then you know we're looking for the opposite answer, right? The non-answer. And I can see, and I'm always looking at my item as a whole, identifying the beginning sounds in words, clapping syllables in words, identifying the ending sounds in words, deleting sounds in words. Sounds, sounds, sounds. And it says here, phonemic awareness. And it asks, which of the following would not be a systematic instructional strategy for phonemic awareness? I'm going to let you guys figure this out. Look, Rebecca's got B. Anybody else? Tell me what you think. Jenny B. All right. You are correct. Let's talk about the difference between phonemic and phonological awareness. Okay. I'm going to write them down here. Okay. Good. BBB. Everybody, you got it. Awesome job. Okay. When we talk about phonological awareness, we're talking about bigger sounds in the words. We're talking about the syllables. We're talking about the onsets and rhymes. Let me show you. If we were to talk about, let's say, clapping syllables, right? Let's say we're talking about the word rabbit. We separate the word between the two consonants, right? Rabbit. We don't have to look at the word rabbit. And again, I'm writing it here because you guys, I got to kind of talk you through it. But if I were doing this with elementary school students, I wouldn't write the word rabbit. I would be like, how many syllables in the word rabbit? And they would go rabbit. Notice I don't have to see the word to know the syllables. I can listen to the syllables. These are big chunks of sounds in the word. Also phonological awareness, something like the word track, onset, rhyme, ack. And I'm talking about R-I-M-E. You'll see this a lot. Okay. Onset is the beginning consonant or consonant cluster. For example, in the word, let me do one syllable here, or one consonant. In the word put, the onset is p. It's not p. The onset is p. Okay. The onset in track is ter. It's the initial consonant sound or consonant cluster sound. The rhyme is the ending vowel sound and the closing consonant sounds. Ut is the rhyme. Ack is the rhyme. I don't know. There are other words that do it too, right? Notice they are bigger sounds in the word. In this one, it's one sound, but then ut is two sounds. Ter is actually two sounds. T-er. Ack is two sounds. Ack. But we put them together with phonological awareness. Same with syllables. Bigger sounds. We're still not looking at the word. We're doing it sounds only. I'm just showing you this. Now, Phonemic awareness is different. Phonemic awareness are individual sounds and words. T, k. 4 phonemes in track. The onset is ter. The rhyme is ak. That's phonological awareness. Phonemic awareness is t, ak. Do you see how it's different? Phonemic awareness is a little more nuanced. It's a little more, it's higher level. They have to really dissect the word much more and with a lot more nuance. So B is the answer because identifying the beginning sound in the word, p, identifying the ending sounds in the words, ak. Deleting sound is manipulation, phonemic awareness manipulation. This is actually high up on the continuum. If I asked you to delete the beginning sound in the word put, you would go ut. If I said delete the p sound or the beginning sound, you would go ut. So notice that we're manipulating the word. D actually is a high level phonemic awareness skill because you're manipulating phonemes in words. Something to think about. Have all that in the book. All right. Any questions on that? Let me know. Emma, the umbrella helps me with the difference between phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. Yes, Emma, I have the umbrella in both of my books. And one thing that I learned over the years of doing this as well from other teachers who watch my videos and like, hey, I like your video, but you forgot to mention this, which I find helpful. I love it. I love it when colleagues comment on my videos. They always give me insight, right? And one of the things that I, was really taught early on is that phonemic awareness is considered a harder skill. And it is one that students have to really understand the nuances in the sounds, okay? So somebody's asking what the umbrella is. It looks like this. Let me just do it for you guys. Okay, in my books, you will see, and I'm going to draw it very terribly. Please forgive me. But you'll see an umbrella like this. And at the top, it'll say phonological awareness. And under here, phonemic awareness. Now, I don't want you to think, because phonemic awareness is under the umbrella, it's less of a skill. Okay? It's not. It's just that phonological encompasses bigger pieces of the words, and phonemic awareness are like the little sounds in words. Okay? It's always sounds only. So whether it's phonological awareness or phonemic awareness, it's sounds only. When we talk about phonics, I'm going to put an I here. You have to see the word when it comes to phonics. Phonics is letter, sound, correspondence. When you see the word phonics, you know that this P and the H together makes a F sound, but you have to see this to know that. Okay. Now, somebody wanted me to go over phonological one more time. Okay. Phonological, sounds only, but bigger sounds in words. I'm going to do it again with this word track. Okay. One phonological awareness activity is the onset and rhyme game. If I said to students, what's the onset of the word track? They would go ter, because ter is the consonant and or consonant cluster at the beginning of the word. Ak is the rhyme. R-I-M-E. It's the vowel sound and the closing consonant cluster sounds. That's phonological. Notice, big chunk of the word, ter, big chunk of the word, ak. If I were to use phonemic awareness activity, I have to get a little more nuanced, okay? T, ak. Those are the sounds. T, ak. 4 sounds. In phonological, it's 2 sounds. Ter, ak. Phonemic, it's t, ak. Yes, Amanda, lights off. For phonological and phonemic awareness, you can do it in the dark. You do not have to see the word to do phonological or phonemic awareness. No, these are not compound words. These are not compound words. Compound words are things like rattlesnake, sidewalk. These are just words with different phonemes in them, different onsets and rhymes in them. We're breaking them up in different ways. Okay? All right, let's go back. Is identifying words with more phonemes a higher skill than words with digraph or trigraph? Jessica, that's kind of a nuanced question. It depends on the word. You won't be asked that nuanced of a question when it comes to skill progression, I don't think. That would be really difficult. I mean, obviously bigger words are harder and words with more sounds are harder. But then when you throw in like, this one has a digraph, but this one has 15 sounds. This one has a diphthong, but this one has 15 sounds. You know what I mean? Like, it would be hard. Typically, when you're talking about the different skills, like which one's a harder skill, they're going to be pretty obvious. Like it's going to be like the word pat. And I might say, delete the beginning sound in the word pat. So they delete the p sound, right? The beginning p sound. I'm on a microphone. You may or may not be able to hear it. And then if I said, delete the medial sound in the word thrill, that would be harder, right? To identify that sound in the middle. So medial sounds are more difficult than beginning and ending sounds, identifying them and manipulating them. You'll see that in the phonemic awareness continuum. And Naomi, yes, A, C, and D all have the word sounds in them. Yes, but be careful. Phonological awareness has sounds, but you're right. What you identified, and it is right 99% of the time, is the 3-to-1 strategy, Naomi. A, C, and D, 3 of them all have the same kind of thing going on. There's only one that has something different. 3-to-1 strategy, if you're ever stuck and you can see that in an answer choice, go with the one that's the difference. Okay? All right, let's go here. When will the webinar be over? Probably in about 20 minutes. Let's see here. I got to move. Okay, here we go. Praxis teaching reading. This is the second study guide. Work on silent letters. Identify R-controlled vowel sound. Blend long vowel sounds. Identify common vowel combinations. All right, I can see that these are just skills. I can't do anything with these answer choices. Sometimes the working backwards isn't going to work right away. People go, I worked backwards and I only got 25 out of the questions. I'm like, well, if you could work backwards and get 25 of them, that's pretty good. There's always going to be something like this where like you got to read the question first, but that's okay. You just want to have a look at the item as a whole. Students have mastered consonant sounds and short vowel sounds. Which of the following would be the most appropriate next step in the teaching sequence? This is a continuum question. This is a phonics continuum question. You have to understand the difference in skills. And one of you was asking about this. This is where it's obvious if you study what the right answer is here. And some of you are between B and C. So right now the student has mastered consonant sounds. So k, b, d, f, o, all those words, all those sounds. Okay. So short or consonant sounds and short vowel sounds. So words like big, put, sit. Okay. Those are the words that they have mastered here. And it looks like you all have C. Very good. It is C. Okay. What would be the next thing? Well, C. And look, you might say, well, that's kind of obvious. Long vowel sounds with consonants would be the next one, right? For example, we have big, sit, and put. Maybe we want to do make now. Long vowel sounds, and even have this little silent E there, because with long vowel sounds with consonants, a lot of times you have to have the E there, because if we were going to do vowel teams like pie, that's a vowel team. Pie, I and E working together to make one sound, pie. You need to talk about vowel teams. This is probably the next step. Long vowel sounds with consonants. C is good. Now, silent letters is up there, high on the continuum. Those are words like K, N, in no. That's not after short vowel sounds. That's a little bit higher up. And I have a chart in all my books that shows you all the different progressions, and it'll show you which one comes first. But think about it. Obviously, short vowel sounds. Let's go to long vowel sounds. They know you don't have a master's in reading, okay? They're just trying to get you to understand, the normal progression here. R-controlled vowel sounds, those are for syllables. R-controlled, like letter, major, O-R-E-R, A-R-U-R. Those are high-level words, usually 2-syllable or more words. So A and B are too advanced. C is the answer. D, identify common vowel combinations. I would say D is the distractor. It's the one they want you to do, because vowel combinations do make a long sound. But the reason why I wouldn't go with D and I would go with C is because blending long vowel sounds with consonants is pretty much right after short vowel sounds. And vowel combinations could be diphthongs as well, which is a little bit more advanced. So again, you got to understand these nuances. This test is hard. This test is hard. All right. Let's have a look at 6. Reading and writing, speaking and listening, listening and reading, speaking and writing. Okay, I have a bunch of skills. They're in different orders. I don't know what's going on. A teacher wants to work with students' expressive vocabulary. What would be most effective? All right, this is about expressive versus receptive. Expressive is when you express, when you speak, and when you write, right? If I need to express something to you, I either need to tell you or I need to type it up, right? Or write it out, right? That's why D is the answer. Receptive is receiving, which is going to be listening. When you hear something, you are receiving. And when you read something, you are receiving. Okay? So make sure you know the difference, and that is in the book. Expressive, you're expressing, writing and speaking. Receptive, you're receiving the information, reading and listening. Okay? All right, number 8 in the Praxis teaching reading. Let's go with the answer choices. Reading through the text, only stopping at words he or she needs to decode. Okay, that looks like phonics. B, reading with inflection and expression. That's prosody. So this is phonics. I like to just know what I'm talking about here. This is prosody. Reading effortlessly through the text with greater than 95% accuracy. This is automaticity. Reading through the text using sight words. This is automaticity too. C and D are kind of the same. Remember, if we only need one answer choice, the ones that are too similar are probably out. Let's have a look. If a student is reading with automaticity, the student is, okay, notice that I jumped the gun a little bit too much here. Automaticity, reading effortlessly through the text at greater than 95%, reading through the text using sight words, that's not necessarily, this C is a better automaticity. Greater than 95% typically means automaticity. Let's talk about that, okay? If you are reading at greater than 95% accuracy, you're cooking. You're going. That's where we want kids to be. That is the independent level, okay? That means if I give you a grade level text on your grade level and you're reading it at greater than 95% accuracy, you are being super automatic, all right? If it's less than 95%, you're at, or 95% or lower, you're at the instructional level. That means you need the teacher to sort of step in. Now you might say, wow, that's only 5% below 100% or only 6% below 100%. That seems like still really good. Sure, it's really good. But if you're reading at 90%, let's just say you're reading at 90% accuracy, 10% of the words you're missing, you're struggling. It's choppy in there, right? So that's the instructional level. Anything less than 90% is the frustration level. And I have a chart on this, okay? So automaticity is not reading with expression. That's prosody. That's what I talked to you about, my mom being the kindergarten teacher. And some of you said that your moms are really good reading teachers as well. That's prosody. Decoding, this is phonics. So we're between C and D. I had crossed them off. Notice that even when you cross them off, if you read sometimes you read the question, you're like, oh, but looking at them gave me an idea. This right here is giving automaticity. Now, reading through the text using sight words, those are automatic, but the whole text isn't necessarily sight words. And I feel like this would be a bad answer choice because you're not just using sight words. Okay? So be careful there. C is the answer. Greater than 95% accuracy. It is the independent reading. It is automatic. That's where we want kids to be. Why? Why do we want kids to be at greater than 95%? Well, if you are reading at greater than 95% accuracy, you are cooking, you're moving, you have a ton of cognitive energy freed up to comprehend the text, to think critically about the text, to form those pictures in your mind, to remember something back in the day that relates to the text. When we are comprehending text, we are using all kinds of metacognition, all kinds of processes. We take it for granted as older learners, right? But young kids, they They don't know how to do this, right? That's why when we read through effortlessly, we can stop and say, okay, what do you see? What are you picturing in your mind? And they can do that because they have freed up a lot of cognitive space because this is easy. Easy peasy, automatic. Now, if they're not automatic, you need to bump the level down on the text. We still want to push the students towards the standard, but we want to make sure that they're practicing with that. Now, what is automaticity? Here's another thing. Think about this for your constructed response or your open response. This is a fluency question. Automaticity, greater than 95% accuracy, inflection and expression. These all have to do with fluency. If I were asked something about this on the constructed response or open response, what could help me become more automatic? The best thing for automaticity is repeated reading. Read it again, read it again, read it again. Not only do you start to get the words correct, obviously, again and again and again, you get confident, you become better at your prosody, and it just is better. Repeated reading is such a good fluency activity. And, remember that for your constructed response. All right, one more. Praxis teaching reading. This one's a good scenario. It's all long and you're like, oh my God, there's too much here. Let's read the answer choices, see if we can eliminate. Yes, Autumn. Yes, Ellie. Practice. Patricia. Yes, practice is repeated reading, right? Do it again, do it again. All right, let's read the answer choices here. This is a good one for backwards. Let me move this up so my head is not in the way. There we go. Okay. The teacher should have the student focus on spelling because spelling is phonics. That is true. Letter, sound recognition. And phonics is a necessary part of the comprehension process. That is true. Phonics is very important for comprehension. I'm going to leave it. B, the teacher should have the student take a diagnostic test, to diagnose any problems, and then have the reading coach work with the student. Automatically out. No reading coach. Even though I love you reading coaches, on this test, you are not to rely on the reading coach. You are to rely on yourself. C, the teacher should use a running record to record miscues a student demonstrates during the 1-minute reading. Okay, that is something you can do. That's called a running record. That works. D, the teacher should focus on fluency and automaticity strategies because proper fluency and automaticity will reduce the cognitive demand needed for decoding, leaving more cognitive space for comprehension. D, all day, every day. You guys are going through that. Here you can see D, it has all the good words. We've got automaticity, fluency, cognitive demand. If this had metacognition in it, even more so, it would be the one. Here's the reason why B is out. Diagnostic test, I like it, but it went right to reading coach. No reading coach. You're the reading coach. Okay. I love reading coaches, but on this test, we are not to rely on them. We have to do it in our own room. Okay. Spelling is also important, but it's not as good as this one. This one is saying all the things I like. Let's read the question just to make sure. A student is struggling during reading. The student often stops when encountering high frequency words and tries to decode them. This interrupts the reading and makes it difficult for the student to understand the meaning of the text. There's that comprehension, meaning of the text. Which of the following interventions? Now, you might say, well, A is a good intervention and C is a good intervention. Here's where C is missing. You recorded the miscues, but you didn't do anything with them. And spelling is okay too, but D is the best. You want to look at the best answer choice. I get a lot of people say, oh, well, I looked and like 3 out of the 4 would be good for my, would be a good answer. And it's like, yeah, sure. A works, B works, C works. All of these work in the real world, but we want the very best. Okay. The end goal here is meaning in text. The end goal is always comprehension. The ultimate end goal. Metacognition, what is it? And when you see it on the test, zero in. Metacognition is thinking about thinking. When we are automatic, we can stop and think about what we just read and we're like, oh, that makes sense, blah, blah, blah. We can predict. We can go, oh, you know what? I bet you this is going to happen. We can only predict. We can only summarize. We can only create pictures in our mind because we have the cognitive space to do so. And if we're sounding out every word, and I know you have seen students do this when they're like sounding out every word in the passage and you're like, oh my God, it's exhausting to listen to. And it is so exhausting for the student that they don't have anything freed up in the mind, excuse me, to put towards comprehension. That's why fluency is so important. It's part of the Fab Five of reading. What are the Fab Five of reading? Phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, fluency, vocab, and then the ultimate, the fifth one, comprehension. All right, let's talk about the dreaded open response. I'm going to do two here. This is for the foundations of reading, but you'll see a question just like this on any reading test. You might see this on teaching reading, STR. They're all done differently, but they all do the same thing. Okay. All right. Somebody's asking a good one. Emery is asking for activities for the Fab Five of reading. All right. Let's talk about that really quick before we start the open response. That sounds good. Let me stop sharing here. All right. So the Fab Five of reading, we're talking about foundational skills, phonological awareness and phonemic awareness, right? Let's start there. Phonological awareness. What can we do in terms of strategies? We could clap syllables. Did I say phonological awareness? I hope I said that first. Phonological awareness will be first. Clap syllables. Work with onset and rhyme. Larger chunks of words, okay? They don't have to be multi-syllable to do phonological awareness. You saw that word track. Ready? Here's a phonological awareness activity. Say the word track, track. Say the word track, track. Say the onset of track, tur. Say the rhyme of track, ack. Put the onset and rhyme together, track. Do you see how we just did a phonological awareness activity? I could have turned all the lights out in the room and you would be able to do it. We didn't have to see the word track, okay? Say the word track, track. Say the word track, track. What is the first sound in the word track? T. That's phonemic awareness. Notice I have an individual sound. Here's another one. Say the word track, track. Say the word track, track. How many sounds in the word track? T, ak. 4 individual sounds. All right, here's one, a harder phonemic awareness activity. Say the word track, track. Say the word track, track. Substitute the a sound with an sound. Truck. Do you see how we moved a medial sound, that a sound in the middle, and we took it out and we put a sound in there? That is high level phonemic awareness and at the top of the continuum. You singled out a little tiny phoneme in the middle of the word. Beginning and ending is easier. Okay. If I said, say the word track, track, say the word track, track, say the word track, but substitute the t sound with a p sound. You would go prack. And you might say, well, prack's not a word. No, but we use nonsense words when we do phonemic and phonological awareness because we're only dealing with sounds. It's just a way of doing that. But substitution at the beginning or the end of the word is high level, but not as high level as a medial sound. A medial sound is in the middle. They're harder to identify. It takes the students a second to go, track, okay, I'm taking out. I'm putting in, truck. Do you see how we took one individual sound, grabbed it, took it out, and then put another individual sound in? High level. So those are some phonemic awareness and phonological awareness skills. Those are all in the book. Fluency, my go-to. This is number 3 of the Fab Five. Fluency, my go-to is repeated reading and modeling prosody. Okay, always, always, always. Vocabulary, I love a vocabulary word wall. Interactive. Morphology is a good one for vocabulary, pulling off pieces of the word and identifying different pieces of the word. Also, cueing systems, reading around the word to figure out what the word is, if it's in context. And then finally, comprehension strategy, my favorite go-to, and you're going to see it in my open response example, read aloud, think aloud. That's where the teacher reads to the students, modeling good prosody, modeling all those fluency skills. But then when she gets to a difficult word, she goes, I wonder what that word means. What can I do to figure out that word? Let me look at the word in front of it. Let me look at the word after it. Let me look at the sentence. Do you see how I'm showing you how to use your brain to figure things out? Or read aloud, think aloud. That's a tough sentence there. Let me reread that sentence. I'm telling students the process that I'm doing, right? And I'm showing them how to use their brain. Metacognition, read aloud, think aloud, such a good one for comprehension. I literally used it with high school seniors every day in science, and they loved it. They put it as their favorite activity at the end of the year. Read aloud, think aloud. They loved it. Okay. Think aloud. Yes. Think aloud. Think cognition. Very good. All right. Let's go to our open response. Let's have a look at this one. Now, when you are doing your open response, the first thing you're going to do is work backwards. You're going to start here. What does everybody do? They start up here and they read all the way down. They get totally freaked out by the scenario. Then they look at the task and they're like, oh my God, what do I do? First things first, start with the task. So here's the task. You're going to have to write 150 to 300 words, relatively short, not that long. Okay. Identify one strength that Liam demonstrates. Identify one need. So one strength, one weakness. Okay. And it says here, hang on, let me pull this up. It says here, related to phonics. Notice that reading the task first will kind of set you on the right path because it's telling me this is a phonics question. So this is always helpful. Give yourself the best chance. Then based on the need, based on the weakness, I say weakness, but this is a strengths-based way of laying things out. So a need is a weakness. Based on the weakness, identify an appropriate instructional activity. Right away, phonics, I'm going to be thinking, I'm looking at my chart here. I see some blends here. I see some digraphs here. I want to be thinking about my digraphs. Maybe it's a spelling thing. Maybe we'll use some blending by listening to the word. Maybe we'll go back to phonological awareness and try to do some blending sounds here. Remember, it's recursive. You can go back to move forward. I'm going to figure that out. And then explain why. Now, explaining why, this fourth bullet here is the rationale. Okay. Somebody is saying, I do not see this page in the download. Nope. This is for our attendees. You're going to get it in the follow-up email. So I didn't want to give everything away at the front end because some people just grab it and they don't attend. So I always try to give an incentive to attend live. And we had 500 people attend live today, which is so amazing. So you're going to get this in the email. So don't worry. And again, if you're watching this in the future, you already have this. And it looks like I kind of messed up this. Hang on. This should not be here. Should be that. I had changed out. I used there was an old one in here and I wanted to revamp it and make it better. So I redid it today. There was another one from before that I used too much. All right. So I can see right here, we're talking about phonics here. Oops. Well, sorry about that. Give me 1 second, you guys. We're talking about phonics here. We looked at the task. We know we have to find a strength, a weakness, a strategy for the weakness, and a reason why we're using the strategy. That's called a rationale. Now, the rationale is a nice way to wrap up your essay. It's kind of like a really good conclusion because it says why you're doing it. And that's really important. So let me show you. In fact, nope, hang on. Forget it. I'll fix it later. You're getting the good one. Don't worry. You're getting the good one in the email. I'll fix it later. So I decided to write 2 paragraphs. All right. And let me pull this down. Now I made it big so you could see it on your computer. Notice my face is in front of this. I'll move it in a minute. I like to fill up the whole thing so you can see it. I don't like it to be too small for you. Okay. So let's go here. We need to identify a strength, a weakness, an instructional strategy for the weakness, and then a rationale. I'm going to do 2 paragraphs. I'm going to put bullets 1 and 2 in the first paragraph because that's a really good way to do it. Identify a strength and a weakness. That goes nicely in 1 paragraph. And then I'm going to do the strategy and the rationale in the second paragraph. You do not need 8 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, and it never says this is how many paragraphs you should have. It never says that. You could do it all in 1 paragraph. I like to do it in 2. You could even do 4. If you're someone who really likes to keep your stuff sectioned out, you could do a paragraph for the strength, a paragraph for the weakness. The only problem is you sort of have to get a little winded. It's just a strength and a weakness. You could fit that into 1 paragraph. Someone in a Facebook group suggested that for these constructed response tests, jotting down some notes, going to the multiple choice questions and adding more strategies. Yeah. Be careful. You're not allowed to brain dump. So be careful. You can write down notes once you get into the open response, but I would be careful dumping any information. They're probably not going to get you for like, if you jot something down during the multiple choice, you're like, oh, I want to remember that for the writing. I think that's okay. What they do not want you to do is go in to take this exam and like you were just in your car, like reading, right? And then you go into the exam and you just dump everything down. You'll get in trouble for that. So don't do that. But certainly jot down little things when you're working to remember, right? All right. So let's have a look at this particular table here. All right. So we have the target word right here. This is what the teacher is saying. She said ship. He wrote or she wrote sip. So the person messed up the digraph. Shh. Now you might not even get this, right? I'm giving you this. You might not get that. You need to know that he or she messed up with that sh sound. And sh is not a blend. It's a digraph. Trap. He got trap, which is a blend. Tur, tur. Sh is a digraph. Tur is a blend. So it looks like he might be better at blends than digraphs, or this could be a fluke. Let's have a look at this one. Chop. He went to cop. Again, he missed the digraph. Ch. Flag. He went to flab, but he got the F and the L. Fl. So it looks like he's pretty good with blends, not so good with digraphs. And he did mess up the B here. So if I'm looking for a strength, I'd probably say his blends are good. A weakness, digraphs. He's not getting them. He's not getting those sounds. I might need to go back to phonological awareness to get those initial sounds, or phonemic awareness to get those initial sounds. All right. Let's go ahead and read the actual scenario up here. Let me go back here. Ms. Green is monitoring her second grade student Liam's phonics development using weekly phonics-based spelling inventory. This week's focus was on consonant blends, digraphs, and short vowel sounds. She administers a 10-word spelling test aligned with current phonics instruction, 4 keywords to evaluate specific phonics patterns. Okay, so he did 10 words. These were the 4 she kind of zeroed in on to see what was going on. So I would say the strength is the blends. He got the tur and he got the full. He messed up with the B here, flab. He might have just written something and messed it up. But he definitely is messing up on the digraphs. That's going to be my need. Okay. So my intervention is let's work on some digraphs. Now, digraphs are a phonics activity. You might do some cards. You might do some quick cards of digraphs. So a C and an H. Let me just draw it here. Let's just say you have a C and an H here. And you might say, what sound does this make? And the kid goes, ch, right? And then you have a S and an H. What sound does this make? Sh, right? And then you might have other letters on cards so that the student makes words using the digraphs, right? That's one. Another one they use a lot on the foundations of reading are Elkin boxes. That's where you have a box of 3, let's just say, and you have the S and an H on a counter, a P over here, and an I here, let's just say. And as I say the word, ip, ship, ip, you move the counters into where they go in the word. It's a multi-sensory way of doing it. Autumn, no, the 7002 does not have a constructed response. However, I would still watch this because it's going to help you with multiple choice, just so you know. So that's the way. Then these are called sound boxes. Yes, Amber. And they really work with kids. Kids like to use their hands, like to build things. So I would go with either building words using digraph cards or these Elkin boxes. Let's see what I said here. So I decided to go with 2 paragraphs. First paragraph is identifying the strength and the weakness. So let's have a look. Liam demonstrates a clear strength in his phonological awareness, particularly his ability to spell basic word structures. For example, the word trap, he spells the word correctly, indicating that he can blend and segment sounds with a consonant blend. So I did say phonological awareness here because we're talking about consonant blends, and that is phonological awareness. Trap, and what did we say? Flag, full, and tur. He got it. This suggests an emerging grasp of foundational phonics patterns, okay? However, Liam also exhibits specific phonics weaknesses, notably the word ship. He substitutes S for the digraph sh, and in chop, he writes cop instead of chop. Okay. These errors indicate struggles in consonant digraphs. Now, you could make this much easier. You could, no, word count does not matter, Julie. You have to get your point across. And that's what I'm going to talk about right here. You could have made this so much shorter. I'm just giving you the whole gamut here. I'm giving you the like PhD level one, right? So I would say Liam demonstrates a strength in his phonics and phonological awareness by understanding blends. He got the TR and the FL correct in trap and flag. You could just say that. Where he has a weakness is in digraphs. He wrote sip for ship and kip, or I forget, what did he write here? Cop for chop, indicating he is not getting those digraphs. And you might say digraphs are two consonants that make one sound, ch, sh, right? So you might say that. That's fine too. You don't need to get in indicating blah, blah, blah. I'm just giving you the whole gamut here. So this could be 3 sentences, 4 sentences, no big deal. Now I'm going into my, Maria, he also understands short vowel sounds. Good. You could have chose that. Totally. All right. Now I'm going to do the second paragraph. To address these gaps, an effective intervention would be structured phonics instruction that includes multisensory activities such as Elkonin sound boxes. And that's what I think, who said? Yolanda loves Elkonin boxes. Emma, I love sound boxes. Awesome. With chips or counters to map out each phoneme. Listen, it doesn't matter what phonics and phonological and phonemic awareness you're doing. Sound boxes work. You can apply it to anything. Don't worry so much about the question. The skill they're asking here is phonics. And of course, phonological awareness has to do with that because remember, recursive. We might have to go back to phonological awareness to move forward in phonics, especially with high-level skills like digraphs, trigraphs, vowel teams, diphthongs. Those are high-level phonics skills. We might have to go back to phonological just to kind of get those foundations going. Okay. And now I say, okay, Elkonin boxes. Now I tell you what my intervention is, and I got a little specific about mapping out the phonemes. Now I'm going to tell you what's the rationale. This will help Liam isolate and blend individual sounds in words like ship and chop, making the distinctions between single consonants and digraphs more explicit. Notice I'm using good words in my response as well. You use some of these good words, they're going to go, oh my God, she really knows her stuff. Okay. And then I go a little overboard here, but this targeted instruction will build Liam's phonics proficiency by strengthening his ability, blah, blah, blah. I get a little wordy there. Those of you who know me know I'm a little long-winded. Okay. You can be long-winded, but don't go around the world to say something. Make sure it has purpose. Here are some of the things I do. Let's have a look at the structure of this. Okay. First of all, I state it right away. Liam demonstrates a clear strength in phonological awareness. I didn't do an intro. I didn't do anything like that. I just said his strength is phonological awareness, particularly his ability to identify and spell basic word structures. Okay. I would say phonological awareness and beginning phonics. I might change that up a bit. Now, notice I say here, for example, this is something that'll help you in your writing. Okay. You state what they're good at, right? And then you say, for example, which means you're using the data to make your point known. This is the specificity they need from you. I see a lot of people, they write in all these abstractions. It's like, oh, phonological awareness this and phonological awareness this, but you never say, for instance, when he does this, this is what it means. Get in there and say phonological awareness. This is why. For example, in the word trap, he spells the word correctly, which indicates he has those blends. Okay. Notice here in this one, to address these gaps, an effective intervention would be multisensory activities such as Elkonin boxes. Okay. This approach will help Liam isolate the individual sounds. I might even say in there, for example, in the word ship, he could put one counter for the sh sound, which would help him with the digraph. There's all kinds of ways you can dig in and get specific. I get specific in the actual thing. I get specific in the practice, what it does. Get in there and show me, don't tell me. Show me. All right, let's quickly talk about the next one. I want to do one more constructed response. All right, we're going to go. This is what it might look like for the teaching reading. Both of them are very similar. You're just going to have some data here. You'll have some data for the constructed response on the 5205, but not all the time. Let's have a look here. Task 1, identify and describe a research-based comprehension strategy. Right away, if I'm me and I'm in the test, I'm thinking read aloud, think aloud, metacognition, comprehension strategy, using that brain, using those pictures in the mind, figuring out the what's going to happen in the text, prediction, summarization. Okay, all of those are strategies that the teacher can implement to support the student's reading comprehension. Notice I already have the strategies before I read the scenario. To identify and describe an assessment the teacher can use to monitor. Right away, what kind of assessment can I use? Observation, formative assessment. You could even use questions at the end, comprehension assessment. I would use a formative observation assessment because if we're doing read aloud, think aloud, I'm walking around the room and I'm looking at what kids are doing. I'm listening to them read. So that's an observation. And guess what? Observation is a formative assessment. All right. So I got it. I got my strategy, read aloud, think aloud. I have my assessment, formative assessment, observation. I don't even have to read it, but I will. A second grade teacher is concerned about a student who struggles with reading comprehension. The student can decode words, so they have phonics, but has difficulty understanding and remembering key details from the text. Okay, I might use a graphic organizer now. Okay, read aloud, think aloud with a graphic organizer. I don't know, there's a bunch of things I could use here. Key details might lend itself to a graphic organizer. Okay. When asked comprehension questions, the student often provides vague or incorrect responses. Okay, I got it. Let's go. 2 paragraphs. One effective research-based comprehension strategy for improving students' reading comprehension is read aloud, think aloud. My go-to. Now I get specific. In this strategy, the teacher can read text aloud while modeling metacognitive thinking by verbalizing thoughts. Now I'm getting very specific. I even do a little quote here. I wonder why the character feels this way. Let me reread to find clues. I even get specific on what I would say to the kids. Then I give a little rationale. I always like to give a rationale because it helps to round out the paragraph. And a rationale is just, why would you use this strategy? Well, I would use this strategy because this approach is effective because it explicitly demonstrates how skilled readers engage with text, helping students develop their own internal dialogue, use their brains to think about thinking. By regularly practicing think alouds, the student will learn to actively monitor understanding. Good, good, good. Can I use KWL, graphic organizer? Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. You can use anything you want. You just have to be able to write to it. Someone's saying, oh, I need a plug and play. This is plug and play. This is plug and play. Make sure when you choose a strategy, you name it, then you get specific. And then you do a rationale. That's going to give you a nice, juicy paragraph with that strategy. To monitor the student's progress, now here we go with our assessment. This was task number 2, paragraph number 2. This is task 1, paragraph 1. Task 2, paragraph number 2. Section it out like that. It's good to organize. To monitor the student's progress, the teacher can use formative observation with anecdotal notes. Anecdotal notes is when you just write notes down. Good teachers do this all the time. It's just a fancy word for what y'all are doing all the time. This involves systematically, good word, recording the student's responsive engagement comprehension strategies in a structured way over time. For example, getting specific. It's always good to have a for example in there. The teacher might note whether the student is making predictions, asking clarifying questions, or recalling, and I get into it here. Unlike formal assessments, anecdotal notes capture real-time insights. So that's the rationale. Why would I use formative? Because in the formative assessment, I can get in there and really understand what the student is doing while they are doing it. I talk a lot about assessments in my books, specifically for reading. Definitely check out that assessment section in the books. All right. Does anyone know why it takes Praxis weeks to get your scores? It depends. It takes weeks to get your scores if there is a constructed response. A human is grading this. So it takes a couple more weeks. Okay. All right. Informal reading inventory. Yes. Good. I don't know how to pronounce your name. But yes, IRA, I have that, or IRI. I have that in IRA. IRI, I have that in here. Possible examples of handouts, story map, Venn diagram, mind mapping, all of that. Okay. So if you're a graphic organizer teacher, and I was too in science for sure, we had graphic organizers, grab that mind map. If you love using those, do that in your constructed response and get specific. For example, the teacher can use a semantic map to map out meaning in text by using a large bubble for the main idea and smaller bubble for the key details. And remember, the student had trouble with the key details. And I had mentioned, oh, that might be good for a graphic organizer. So absolutely. Absolutely, Amanda. Good call. Good call. All right. Let me know if you have any other questions in here. I want to talk about a couple more things where you can get free resources, paid resources, and all of that. Now, if you're someone who is like just starting teaching and you're not sure what to do and you don't know what tests you're taking and you don't want to spend a lot of money, go to my YouTube channel. Here we go. On my YouTube channel, I have so many videos, especially for teaching reading right here. This is the playlist. You're going to learn so much here. You can piece together your own online course. It's going to take a lot. If you're someone who likes it all to be laid out for you, I have an online course for you. I showed it to you in the beginning. I'm going to show it to you again. But if you're someone who wants to save money, use this free study guide. Use my reading playlist. Maybe you buy a study guide to go with it. Good. You can piece it together. Okay. I have so many things here. I have past subject area sessions. I just did the 5001 last week. I just did an AI for educators. Oh, I wanted to show you something that I did with AI. I'm going to do this in a second. Hang on. I'm going to show you how to generate more writing prompts with AI. Okay. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Hang on. So this is my YouTube channel. I am on TikTok. Please follow me on TikTok. And I have another TikTok called KMJ Learning. So this is me here. I have 25,000, almost 26, but I just started this KMJ Learning TikTok. This is for college prep. I do SAT, ACT, GED, all of that. If you have students, kids, whoever that need help, please tell them to follow me here. I'm trying to get to 1,000 so I can go live here. You have to have 1,000. I like to go live like I'm going now for you guys, for the kids. And I use the Desmos calculator and all that. So if you're interested in SAT stuff, follow me here also, please. Of course, I have, let's go back to Facebook, Instagram, all of that. We'll have stuff there. And my website, let me go here. We have a blog. So if you go to my homepage, we have blogs that are full of really good information here. We also have our free webinars. They're over here. Click free webinars. You'll be able to see our past webinars, our upcoming webinars. And you can go here and look, like I did AI Made Easy for Educators. This was a good one. Everybody loved it. Teacher interview. I usually do that at the end of the second semester. Leadership interview for those of you who are trying to get your leadership jobs. Teacher resume, PLT, 6990-5412, Praxis Core. These are all recorded. Just sign up. You'll get it all. Okay. Now we have audio courses. I don't have an audio course right now for the foundations of reading. Just grab the teaching reading one. It's fine. It's the same. I have online courses for, let me go here, share. Online courses that come with the digital study guide and hours of video and quizzes and videos explaining the quizzes. And I write on it just like you guys like here. And I go through everything in the book, literally everything. I have that for teaching reading and the foundations of reading. And then I have all my books on Amazon, which we can't give you a coupon on Amazon because, like I said, I have to unpublish the book. It's a whole thing. All right, let's talk about AI real quick. Those of you who are still on, I want to show you where you can get more prompts. So let's say you have my book and you're like, I wrote all the prompts. I'm trying so hard on my constructed response. Okay. If you already have the book, can you get a discount for the course? Yes, Autumn. If you have the book, email us. If you can send us I normally don't do that, but I'll do it because I know a lot of you got the book already. Send us a screenshot of your purchase on Amazon with your name visible, and we will apply that to the price of the course. Okay, be patient with us. It does take a minute for us to like do the research and find you and all of that. But can the discount be used on the online course? Yes, Jenny. Please use the discount on the online course. The only place the discount doesn't work is on Amazon physical books. but we're working on getting our physical books through another company as well. So you will be able to, a lot of people love Amazon to get their books. I buy my books on Amazon. I'm trying to get it done through another company as well as Amazon so that I can offer discounts on the physical. Okay. I have a special education course, you guys, and I'm doing special education next week, free webinar. Come next week. Who asked about that? Paula and somebody else asked about special ed, and it's already gone. Okay. So let me show you really quick AI. I love AI. I have an online course for AI. You can find it here. You're going to learn so much about how to use it. Where are we? Online courses, teacher resources, AI for educators. It looks like this with like robots on the front. But let me show you what I did. So I'm in my chat GPT and I grabbed an old prompt that I had used. And I'm zoomed in, way in on this, right? I used an old prompt and I grabbed it. You could even screenshot the book. You could take a picture of my book. Let's say there's 10 prompts here and I got 10 prompts and the other one. And you've already written to all of them. You want new prompts. Take a picture and say, hey, can you, what did I say here? Can you take this and make one about phonics? And this isn't even that good of a prompt I'm giving AI. I'm like, here, can you do this and make it about fluency? Can you do this and make it about comprehension? And look what it did for me. It gave me a scenario, Ms. Green. This is the one I did for you today. But then it went back to the fluency one that I showed it. I don't want fluency. It gave me all this good stuff. And then I said, okay, this is good, but you have fluency data. Can you please use a type of phonics data? Look what it did. Gave me the phonics data. And that's what I used today. You can do the same thing. You can grab my prompts in here, take a picture. You could also like screenshot it. If you have the digital guide on your computer, you can screenshot it and put it in to AI and say, can you write me 3 more prompts like this so I can practice? And then you can write the essay and give it to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT grade it and tell you where you lack. Please use AI. It's so good. And teach your students how to use it too. And take my course. It's awesome. But notice I took a picture of it and then I asked it to do different things. Keep asking it to change it. Hey, I really like this one. Can you write me 3 more like this with different phonics skills so I can try a new strategy? Get in there and use it. All right. I just wanted to show you that quick AI trick at the end. Some of you are like, but I'm telling you, it's the future. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I went a little bit over, but there were so many of you. This is my biggest one yet. 500 people. We did hit over 500 for a minute there, which was so cool. Next week, I'm doing special education. And the week after that, we're starting our back to school series. So I'm going to talk to you about lesson planning, classroom management. I'm building a classroom management course that's super easy for those of you who need it. And I'm here pretty much every Saturday. I usually take one Saturday off a month, but I'll be here the next few Saturdays. We got special ed coming up, all kinds of stuff. So make sure you check it out. Be on the lookout for that email that's coming to you guys with everything in it. You're going to get the constructed response, the free study guides, offer codes, new products, the whole thing. Make sure you drag all my emails to your inbox so you get my other emails that are really good. During the week, I give you like teaching strategies and stuff like that. So all of that works. Natalie, I used her resources for special ed in past. Yay, Natalie. All right. Oh my God, there are so many comments. Whitney, did I miss everything? You sort of did, but you can replay it. It's going to be on again. So just be on the lookout for the email. It'll come with the replay. Okay. Just make sure I'm not leaving anybody hanging. I'm sorry. Lisa, you rock. Dr. Jasper. Thank you, Lisa. You rock too. Thank you guys so much for spending your Saturday with me. This was awesome. Biggest one yet. I'm a first-year teacher taking Praxis on 6/27. Awesome. Check out my resources for new teachers. Okay, guys. All right. I'm going to let you go and take the rest of the day off. You've done enough. Go enjoy yourself. Do something irresponsible. Okay. Have a good day. Bye.